Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. We're back. We're off the bye week, John.
There we are.
Matthew, we're all here, guys. Ready to break down some West Virginia. Go around the Big 12 and one other interesting thing going on in college football. Guys, remember to get your copy of Horns Illustrated. It's not too late. Cedric Benson issue coming soon. Make sure you guys hit the links in the description. Make sure you're following on all social media accounts below. We appreciate you guys helping to grow the channel, the platform. Those of you who are reaching out to us all over the place, we're very, very grateful and appreciate the growth. John, we got football this week, man.
We do. Fresh off the bye week.
Fresh off the bye.
Excited.
Going to one of your favorite places up in Morgantown, West Virginia.
Hey, I've always wanted to go there. I've heard it's actually a really beautiful campus. But, I want to go there and handle some business, though.
Absolutely. Business trip against an opponent. Let's be honest right now. We try to give you the truth with no chaser on this channel. This is an opponent that they should take care of handily. Currently, right now, we are favored 10.5. I think it opened at 11. Whatever service you're looking into for such bets. But honestly, looking at what West Virginia has done throughout this season, they are 3-1. But they're a far cry from what we saw with the Dana Holgerson, Will Greer, David Sill, that whole crew, right?
Yes.
A crew where they came into Austin, game we were at, 42-41, horns down, the whole drama. And when we were talking before, one of the things you talked about was Sam Ellinger leading us a bit of a redemption for him.
Yeah, so I remember last year especially, they asked him about the horns down, and he shot back with saying, "Trust me, I'll remember it." So, I want to see him come out with that same focus he's come out with every single game. So I assume that he's going to come out with it because he hasn't proved us any otherwise. Us looking at it the way we kind of broke it down beforehand was we looked at it from position group. And legitimately, on paper, once again, on paper, every single position group, we hold the edge. And if we play our best game, like Tom Herman says, I don't think that it should be a close game at all.
So one of the things, just going back to what you said before, I don't get overly sensitive about the horns down personally as a fan. Doesn't bother me.
No.
Y'all want to do the horns down?
You're celebrating our sign.
Whatever, rent free. That's the way I look at it. But if it fires up my players, whatever it gets to fire up guys, and Sam Ellinger, General Ellinger feeling the need to protect the 40 acres, protect the brand, the name, what have you, I'm with it. Get fired up. Get your guys fired up. Let's go down there and handle our business. Plant your flag, whatever you want to do when you get to Morgantown. And he's won in Morgantown before. That was actually the game, and I say this joking, laughingly, it was the game they won to get bowl eligible, which was, at that point in the program, believe it or not, was important and was a big deal, right? So we're also kind of coming – this is one of the first games where we can kind of come full circle on where we are, where we were at that point and where we are now, which is really, really cool to look at. And then you're coming into you're looking at a team, like you said, position group wise. I'm with you there. We really do hold the edge across the board from a matchup perspective, and that is with the injuries we do have. Caden Stearns being out, Jalen Green being out. But even with guys coming back, I feel really good about how we'll be able to supplement that. I think Todd Orlando did a really good job the last time we saw this defense play in the Oklahoma State game of helping out guys, helping guys play with confidence, playing a little conservative with some zones, and relying more and putting more responsibility on the defensive line and the linebackers to chip in with pressure and to create chaos in the pocket. Facing a guy like Austin Kendall, who's a good, decent quarterback, transfer from OU.
Yeah, Lincoln Riley saw some
absolutely
in him, so he's a good player.
He's a good player. He's been up and down this season, okay, and he's had some accuracy issues from what I've personally seen from him on tape. Some balls that have sailed over a couple guys' heads and some poor decisions. But he's also a guy who can get into rhythm and make some throws. For those of you who are not familiar with Neil Brown from Troy, before his stop at Troy as a head coach, he does have a background from the Mike Leach, Texas Tech air raid type of offense. When you watch them on tape, they do have some of those concepts that they run. And then you look at a young man like a Sam James, who's a freshman, who pops out, specifically his tape against NC State, but he hasn't done a whole lot against anybody else. And then we have Kennedy McCoy, who we get to see again for the 19th time.
Yeah, the guy that we called out last year, and he showed us up.
Yeah, he called out Kennedy McCoy last year.
Yeah, so
apologies to that brother.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I honestly think I think he's averaging 3 yards a carry, and
he's struggling
151 yards or something like that. I think that was the stats. You can correct me all you want, but I just think our defensive line is starting to grow up. I really do see Keandre just growing up and understanding the fact that he's just bigger than everyone.
You were talking a lot about Keandre. What did you see in the Oklahoma State game?
I just saw him owning his especially when he was just being blocked by one person. He was owning that person. I mean, I saw you said he had a sack in Rice, but that's against Rice. He actually did this, owned his block against a Power 5 team, and a legit Power 5 team, a team that blocks for the leading rusher in the nation. I'm pretty sure he's the leading, especially
up there
last week's game. But I just don't think that they lost a few people last year from their offensive line. I know they lost the guy to
Kajust, who third round pick to the New England Patriots. Yeah, and he was first team All Big 12. So,
I mean, I and it's not just him. I mean, we have speed and we have strength in our front seven, and I think that's actually the strength of our defense. Well, it's obviously the strength of our defense, but
yeah, I mean, even the guys. When we talk about our front seven, we're talking about the guys that are from a run fit perspective, lining up in the box. I know we run, traditionally more of like a 3-3-5, and then we're mixing in a whole bunch of stuff. We run a lot of dime and cowboy and all that type of stuff.
With a lot of our defensive
backs,
though.
When we're talking about the front seven, we're talking about even guys like a Chris Brown that are going to walk up there, right? B.J. Foster, who will walk up there.
Brandon Jones,
who will have some nickel responsibilities depending on how certain guys are utilized. All these, and the cool thing is the versatility of these guys. Brandon Jones can line up at the line of scrimmage one play. He can line up 20 yards off the ball the next play. So those are things that I believe are going to give West Virginia some issues. I think one of the keys to the game outside of the position groups that we've highlighted, yes, across the board, we should be able to dominate the position groups. The one position group matchup I am interested in, because I believe one of West Virginia's true strengths is this, and if a West Virginia fan wants to come on and debate us on this, because we feel like our offensive line has played very, very well.
The brothers.
The Stills brothers.
Yeah.
Dante and Darius Stills, both those D tackles on West Virginia, those brothers are no joke. I believe they have 7 sacks between the two of them this year. They're both over 290 pounds. Very physical guys and very quick off the ball. Good hand technique as well. So I think this is going to be a really fun matchup for us to watch for our offensive line, to see how they match up against some of the better defensive linemen in the Big 12. As well as we've been playing, and especially how they played and held their own against the LSU defensive linemen. I'm excited for this opportunity for them, especially going into OU the following week, right?
Yeah,
to get those kind of reps.
That's the issue that I'm worried about, is that we're doing well as a team. Texas, everyone gets up to play Texas regardless.
Sure.
But now, since we're doing well as a team, we're going to get everyone's A game regardless. Are we going to be up for this game, or are we going to look forward to next week? And I hope not. I know we're coming off the bye, but we saw what happened when we came off the bye last year. So I hope.
Sure, that's a good point.
I hope that
that's a good point.
We just recognize where we're at right now in the league. We've only played one game in the Big 12, and every game is going to count. So we can't overlook this team. We have to come into Morgantown, and we have to jump on them right away, because if we jump on them right away, how do you think they're going to respond?
I don't think they'll respond well, to be honest with you. Again, we've seen this from West Virginia earlier this season, week 2. Missouri jumped on them, got out to 31-0 lead, and they rolled, right? So I think, and we've seen also this Texas team signs of maturity, right? Games that we said were close last year haven't been this close this year. Louisiana Tech last year, said before, that probably would have been a 7 or 14-point game. Those are games where we're now blowing the opponent out. Rice game. Now we come in. Tom Herman talks about doing your work early. Coming out, getting off to a good start. Sam Ehlinger has also talked about that. I saw a really great clip. Somebody put it on Twitter of Sam Ehlinger coaching up, and he was specifically talking to Jake Smith.
Yeah, Jake Smith, yeah.
He was talking to Jake Smith and just going over the dynamics of, I believe it was how to run a seam route or whatever he was talking about. But just the hands-on
mentality. It was also reading the body language of the defender.
Yes.
So, hey, if he shows the inside shoulder, you want to take the out. If not, you want to take it on the inside, and And I mean, that just shows his growth as a leader within this team, and I think it's great to see that.
That right there shows you also this is becoming a players-led team. Devin Duvernay talked about that in his interview as well, about the leadership council and guys taking control. Like, the coaches ultimately want to focus on the X and O stuff and the scheme and all that. Yeah, I shouldn't have to motivate you, team full of seniors. And
speaking of leaders, Colin Johnson's supposed to be he's listed as a starter on the depth chart.
Yeah, he's supposed to be back. And I want to see Colin play, and I want to see Colin play well before OU. For his stock, for his confidence. I mean, I think it's one of those things where he'll probably rotate early with like a Malcolm Epps, since Malcolm Epps has been playing a lot. But if he can get into a good rhythm and get some catches early and feel good, I don't know if he's necessarily going to be on a snap count.
Maybe 6 to 8 targets?
Depending on the matchup. I don't know how they're going to – I honestly think he'll have the opportunities there for one-on-ones because teams are really going to start honing in on the Devin Duvernay stuff.
Yeah.
That's –
No, I'm just worried about the hamstring. I mean, we were talking about this about
Sure.
BJ Foster. Hamstrings are something that you think could be healed, and then just one quick movement and you re-pull it, re-aggravate it again.
I hear you, man, but at some point you got to prove you can play.
He's playing for a paycheck, you're saying?
Like, we're already into the Big 12 schedule. We're already a month past the season, and we've seen him play, 2 games? So, I mean,
1.5.
like, at some point, like, he will tell you, I need to produce. I need to produce. So, I hope, this is a productive game for him. I hope it's not another Saturday scratch. I know it's frustrating for him. I know it's been hella frustrating for his brother, but it is what it is. And at this point, I want to see these guys. This is a game where we want to see a Casey Thompson play. We want to see some guys get some, get an opportunity to get some snaps. I know at this point in the season, they've had conversations. We talked about in our bye week video about Roschon Johnson deciding to stay in the fight and not get redshirted. Other guys, may have some opportunities to get redshirted, but red shirts aside, guys that are, may not get the most reps in the world, getting opportunities to get some shine, getting carries for like a Daniel Young, right? And letting them, progress, because these are brothers we may need down the road and we don't realize it yet. We've seen how hard the injury bug has hit, this early in the season. So what's your prediction score-wise for this football game?
I'm going to go 38-24.
38.
Texas. Sorry, Texas. Yeah, 38-24.
Got you.
And that's
we're covering.
Yeah, that's just on the thought process of Texas is coming ready to play. They're coming with a chip on their shoulder from last year, and they want to win. And I just feel just the quiet cool that Sam Ehlinger has produced throughout this whole season. You haven't heard anything from him where he posts up bulletin board material for anyone else. So I just think that they're ready.
I think 45-20. West Virginia's talk a lot of smack. I mean, they put the Texas, even the Horns down on their schedule and all the little subtle jabs, and they've tried so hard on Twitter to be our rival, and all sorts of stuff. Shout out to the brothers over at Texas Platinum for exposing some of that earlier this week. But in all honesty, I got 45-20. I think this is a business trip. I think this is where we come out, handle business. I'm giving them 20 because I do think Neil Brown's a very good football coach. And I do think that with the backups and one other guy I wanted to mention before we go to the next phase of this video, I think we'll have an opportunity to see some Kenyatta Watson in this game. For those of you who don't know, he's number 2. Freshman corner out of Georgia. Great height, 6'1", 6'2".
He's still on the depth chart right now.
Right. He's behind Anthony Cook and Kobe Boyce. We've only seen him really played a couple snaps in like Louisiana Tech game, but we haven't seen him outside of that. And Deshaun Jameson as well. But they've made it very clear now they're looking for corners. This is going to be Anthony Cook's, I don't know how many auditions he's had at this point. Kobe Boyce, who actually played okay last week. Or not last week, but the week before. Nobody wanted to bring that up, but I noticed Jacoby. and then Deshaun Jameson, who they've actually heard some positive things about. So all these guys are going to get some opportunities, but I think from what I've heard, just reading between the tea leaves, I've heard some good things about Kenyatta Watson, about him growing up in practice. So maybe that translates to the game, like we saw with Chris Adamora.
Yeah.
Or Montrell Estelle, right? So curious to see what the corner position looks like, but that's kind of why I have the 20 there. Some things might pop off early before Tato.
You read off his size. I didn't know he's 6'2". I didn't know that. Yeah. I really do like that length, especially on ball corner, especially since we've been leaving Jalen Green on an island. I really do like that. I'm pretty sure he's got some fight in him too. So.
Yeah, it might be the week we see him.
Hopefully.
Just hopefully.
We got to find someone.
Speaking of Big 12 football, so we want to go around the Big 12. I told you guys last video we would do a quick audit of the conference. With us having a bye week, I'm sure some of you actually went and spent some time with your significant others. Some of you football fanatic ladies who wanted to spend some time with your husband because you've been so obsessed with the Texas Longhorns, or some of you husbands who have been so obsessed with the Texas Longhorns that you forgot about your wife. This was a great weekend for you to spend some time, and but some of us who wanted to kind of scout the rest of the conference, I'm sure some of you guys also checked out things that are going on. We kind of split up some games because I know I had to go and do stuff with my ladies, but
it was my dad's birthday this weekend.
Yeah, so we all had stuff going. Shout out to Trans Dad. You had Baylor and Iowa State. What'd you see?
I saw two teams that I was very nervous about before this beginning of the season. I guess it was either one could have been that game for us, and actually I think I picked preseason that Baylor would beat us. I don't think they're there yet, talent-wise, and I just don't. But Baylor did impress me in the fact that I just thought they had Denzel Mims, but nope, they got another one.
Yeah,
he had.
Was it Tyquan Thornton?
Thornton, yep. Mm-hmm. And I think he had 12 or 11 catches, something like that, for 130 plus yards, and he outshined. I mean, and it wasn't just those big chunk plays. He was finding the soft spots of the zone, and Matt Campbell in his zones too, right? So he was finding those soft spots, and Brewer was hitting them on there. So I mean, they were able to. They look like they have a pretty balanced offense. So I mean, they still could be someone who could shock us, because like what we said earlier is that we're going to get everyone's best game this year. So
Charlie Brewer is definitely one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12. So is Brock Purdy, but Charlie Brewer, he gave us problems last year. And he didn't get an offer from Texas.
I was about to say that.
I beat you to it.
I was like, I don't know if anyone else knows that. I mean, they did just mention it about every third pass he had.
I want to briefly touch on Oklahoma State, Kansas State. There was one of the things that came up in the live chat that from a lot of folks. I think right now, those of us who have watched the Big 12, it's Oklahoma, Texas, and then there's been some conversation. We good over here? Okay.
I'm great.
Okay.
It got stuck on there.
Some conversation over who that third team is, right? At one point, people thought it was TCU. They lose to Shane Buechele and friends over at SMU. Then Kansas State has a big victory over Mississippi State. And we, went toe-to-toe with Oklahoma State. Mm-hmm. I think at that point I was ready to say Oklahoma State, and then I kind of went back and forth with the Kansas State thing. Mm-hmm. Well, they duked it out. Oklahoma State looked dominant against Kansas State.
They ran all over them.
And they ran wild, man. Chuba almost had 300 yards. He had an 84-yard touchdown run. And it's funny because somebody brought this up to Tom Herman at the press conference about the success that he had, and if he felt a little bit better about, and he had that like kind of shit-eating grin on his face, like, I didn't watch a snap of that game, but it's like, I know he knows that, it's like, yeah, we held that brother down, you know what I'm saying? So, and then even Tylan Wallace had, I believe,
87 yards,
80 something yards against us.
Yeah.
He goes for $145 against Kansas State, and I believe they pulled out 26-13. Spencer Sanders didn't have the greatest game, but again, when Chuba's rolling like that, and they're still able to get Tylan Wallace the football,
he doesn't need to right now. Yeah, he doesn't need to.
So the game that I watched the most of, I watched a little bit of the Oklahoma State Kansas State game, but the game I watched the most of was Oklahoma and Texas Tech. And I'm going to save a lot of my thoughts on OU for next week because we're going to have a lot of stuff coming. We're probably going to do a live on OU as well as, our full breakdown video. Yes, maybe. We'll see. But as for Texas Tech, it is sad to see a Texas Tech team that can't throw the football. And I never thought I'd see the day. For them to come out there and the lack of offense. And I understand they broke off a couple big runs. The one brother got walked down at the 2-yard line and they didn't even score, and it was embarrassing. And then on top of that, they've always been sorry on defense. You're watching Jalen Hurts run through them like a Mexican taco. It's ridiculous. And it's just like, I'm sorry, man, but they look bad. Texas Tech looks bad, and maybe later in the season when we play them, they find something. Maybe Alan Bowman comes back and he's their savior. I don't know, but even the Jet Duffy we saw throwing the football against us last year, it was not that in Norman, Oklahoma. They get blown out like 55-16, and it wasn't really a competitive football game. There were so many times where Oklahoma had like a fourth. They went for it on like 4th and 11 because Lincoln Riley's like, "You guys suck." And they go for it on 4th and 11, and they throw a freaking pass I don't even know what running back it was. It may have been Kenny. I don't remember who it was. Those out to the flats, and the dude just didn't even make a juke or nothing. Just broke a couple tackles and kept on running for like 25 yards. In the end zone. It's just like really and I say all that because there's a skill gap this year in the Big 12 with a lot of these teams, and I think that's one of the things we'll see. Maybe not to that degree with West Virginia, but there's a skill gap in the Big 12 guys. So unless we completely fall asleep at the wheel, there's looking around the conference and the fact that we've already played Oklahoma State and come out with a W, I think it bodes well for Texas.
Mm-hmm.
There's one other thing we wanted to cover today, and I don't know if anybody's been paying attention to the news from a college football perspective, but John and I thought it would be, wouldn't be
ignored it
if we ignored it or didn't cover it. We just wouldn't feel right. Pay for play.
All for it.
I'm sorry for the loud laugh, Matthew. You can edit that out. Pay for play. For those of you who don't know, California Governor Gavin Newsom, I'll have you read the actual verbiage that they signed and voted on, all that, the bill.
Yeah, from the Washington Post. Okay, so Gavin Newsom confirmed the latest attack on the NCAA amateurism rules, signing a bill Monday that permits college athletes in the state to get paid for their name, image, and likeness through endorsement deals, sponsorships, autograph signings, and other similar income opportunities.
So I'll start here. I know it's something it's a very controversial issue. It's a very big political issue in the sports world. Amateur athletics. Matthew was talking about, other classmates he's debated on campus with, some for, some against, right? Even our own QB1 has tweeted in the past about, paid internships versus unpaid internships. And everybody's very, very passionate about this topic. And, from my standpoint, and hopefully we can have a civil discourse on this channel about this without getting emotional or saying, this guy's an idiot, he wants to pay the players, unsubscribe. Hopefully we can get past all that. But it's 2019, guys, and I don't believe in amateur sports anymore. I don't think amateur sports, when you look at the Olympic model, when you look at where we've come as a society, when you look at this country based around our capitalistic, principles, I don't see how you can maintain a model, a multi-billion-dollar model, the second most revenue-generating sport behind the NFL in this country, and think you can get away with only, reimbursing players via scholarship.
Well, mind you, you also you have to mention who's the number one revenue-generating sport.
The NFL.
Yeah, we're the farm leagues. NCAA is the farm leagues, and every other professional sport, the farm leagues, they are considered quote unquote professionals because they are getting paid. They're getting groomed. They're getting groomed for the NFL. I mean, everyone may say, "Oh yeah, it's the Canadian Football League. That's the farm league." It's not.
No,
I mean, more people from college make it in the NFL than the people from the Canadian Football League. And,
I mean, it's a different league.
It's just
a different. But like, I look at this like the value. What are you worth to your school? What are you worth to your program? And why are we so against, these things? Because we also have to look behind the cover. And we're not, if you guys are interested in this discussion and you want us to do a full video on it, let us know in the comments. Because we can sit here and we can hash this out. Matthew, if you want to come on camera and talk about what's going on at University of Texas. But, all the conversations we've had, we're just going to kind of touch on things here real briefly. But when you look at, we're talking about likeness, right? Like, I grew up as a, NCAA football video game head, right? Like, playing the game, putting in people's names in the game. And it's kind of how I learned, like, all the players at the different schools. It's kind of one of another way I fell in love with college football. And to not have that, and the generation of kids not having that, because we don't want to reimburse these guys on something that everyone else involved is making money off of, and the pressures. And so I want to start with you here. The argument that I know a lot of people are going to bring up is they're receiving a scholarship to great universities. Shouldn't that be payment enough? They're amateur athletes. If you want to get paid, go play professional sports, make it to the NFL, right? So just starting there, we can.
Well, first I want to say I'm pretty sure we're in agreement on this channel that we're not saying, hey, every kid needs to get $500,000 for their pay to play. I'm pretty sure that everything needs to be within reason on the payment. My thought process is, yeah, they're doing they're getting paid for, they're getting a full paid scholarship and they're getting education for free. However, what's not looked upon is that, people get an academic scholarship. They're allowed to go cash in on they get an internship or anything like that. A paid internship.
Mm-hmm. Or a job.
Yes, or a job or anything like that.
There's no restrictions.
Yes, there's no restrictions in that aspect. So why can't athletes do that when they're putting forth hours upon hours every single week, working for the school, working to build a brand within the school, working to help generate revenue for the school, things like that. They're a part of the machine that pulls in all this money as well.
And here's the thing, guys. I've also heard the argument about, well, are you going to pay everybody on the team? It won't be fair. Fairness doesn't exist in the realm of sports and athletics. Let's be all the way 100 here. Is Clemson's facilities and Alabama's facilities and all the money that let's even throw in Ohio State, Texas A&M, and all the money they're spending versus Boise State or another school that can't spend the same amount of money. Is that fair?
$25,000 lockers.
You know what I'm saying? Like, is that like we want to talk about fairness, the influence and the impact of boosters? Is Texas being allowed to play in Austin, Texas, fair compared to somebody that has to go to school in Lincoln, Nebraska? So anything you do now, here's the equalizer, right? Either way, you can do whatever you can do in your environment and still gain the notoriety from it. You look at a Robert Griffin III. We just brought up Waco. The amount of money and the amount of notoriety, attention. I want to know what the enrollment looked like after he won the Heisman Trophy.
They built a stadium after he won it.
Look, that young man's impact on that school. And I know, yes, Art Briles had a lot to do with it as well, and that's a whole other dark path. But strictly around the players, because that's what this conversation is about. And if we want to talk about the coaches, their big money contracts, Jim Harbaugh is allowed to have Dockers commercials. I see Nick Saban over here in insurance commercials. So they're allowed to go and make money for themselves. Jimbo Fisher can sign $75 million contracts, and the players get a scholarship, right? And so, yes, that scholarship has value, but one of the things that this bill is establishing is that they are allowed to make money outside of the school. No one is advocating, at least from what I've heard, that the schools should be directly responsible for issuing payment to the players, right? Like, I don't want Texas giving Sam Ehlinger a paycheck. But if I know Brian Davis, who's local, I think Austin Statesman, he's used this example before. If El Arroyo wants to pay Sam Ehlinger, downtown, or any of the other cool local Austin businesses or a car dealership, you remember we were talking about Rhett Bomar, former OU quarterback from back in the day, who was like a #1 overall quarterback in the country when he came out. He goes and works for some podunk dealership, and they put his face on the dealership, and he gets kicked out of school, ends up at Sam Houston State, didn't fulfill his career. Should he have to lose his whole career because they're proud of him and they want to use him to sell some more cars because his name holds credibility? Isn't that the American dream? What's the problem with that? How is it hurting anybody?
What about that kid? Was he a field goal kicker who had a YouTube channel and a huge
the destroying guy, Donald De La Haye from UCF, who's now with the Toronto Argonauts, if I'm not mistaken.
He had a huge following.
They made him.
He was monetizing it.
He was monetizing his channel, and they made him shut it. They told him he either had to shut the channel down or demonetize the channel, or he couldn't. He would be ineligible.
Yeah.
Right.
So he quit.
He quit. And respect to that kid, man. Like, we're teaching these guys, and look, this is also a benefit to the NFL, by the way, because if kids are mishandling whatever endorsement money they have, or they show to be irresponsible when they do get money, or nefarious things start to happen, the NFL gets a sneak peek of that, like they already do before the draft comes up, before they can make real money. Because we're not even talking about real money, right? We're talking about, small, again, like you said, within reason.
Mm-hmm.
But it also, you look at, somebody was talking about, like, if we went all time, and I thought this was cool, that conversation on Twitter, if we went all time about, like, the great college football players during the time that they played, how much money would they be worth? Like a Deion Sanders at Florida State, or a Peyton Manning at Tennessee, or even
we know Reggie Bush was like $600,000 for a house.
But like Reggie Bush, so he's a bad guy because some boosters got his dad a job on campus, his mom out the hood,
and got him a house.
So his parents could get out of a rough part of San Diego.
I'm sorry, a $600,000 house in LA is not that big of a house. It's a livable house, but yeah.
At that age, if he had said no to that deal, that would have been irresponsible of him. If you think about to his family,
mm-hmm.
This is solely my opinion. I know people are going to get on here and bash and say you're an idiot and all that type of stuff. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I think, if Reggie Bush was a pianist or a child celebrity, and because all it is at the end of the day is you are using your skill or good or whatever to generate, what you're already worth in the marketplace. What is Sam Ehlinger worth to the University of Texas? Scholarship is not enough for what he's provided, and the turnaround, because he's the face of,
I would say $50+ million,
right,
honestly.
along.
And I know it's hard to put an evaluation on it,
and I'm sure there's somebody that can analyze that, but
we are the highest revenue generating college in college athletics, that is, in all the nation, and we have been on a downturn, and he has brought us back from And he's
one
the
of
face,
the biggest reasons we've been.
And he's the face of the university. He's the reason why there's a lot. All three of the games this year, the home games have sold out. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's bringing in. He's helping bring in this. He's building that brand like we were talking about.
His story. You know, the
being the hometown boy,
him going viral. I mean, and guys, like, in those of you who use the Title IX argument about, you know, the women's volleyball player is not going to get the same amount of money, or the world's women's soccer player won't get the same amount of money. Well, we've seen every year, we see SB stories, we see unbelievable sports stories of female athletes who are absolutely dominant, and if they want to turn around and use their image or likeness to make money, they can do it.
Like that female
gymnast. Caitlin Ohashi from UCLA, the gymnast who had the perfect famous perfect 10 routine, right? She goes viral on Twitter. Like, if she wanted to make T-shirts, or they wanted to have her in a couple commercials, at least locally, I have no problem with her generating income from that. Deservedly so.
I mean, why would anyone honestly have any problem with her making income using the talent that she's built? I mean, she's worked hard for.
So this whole narrative, you know, Matthew was talking about how much money would Brittany Griner have brought in at Baylor at that time. You know, like you go back and look, like it should be relevant to what you can negotiate and generate off the field, which is why I don't have a problem with them, because we did hear from. What's the brother that's the AD at Ohio State? Mr. Smith. Can't remember his first name. But he was the one that got caught up with Urban Meyer and all that type of stuff, but he's still there. But anyway, this brother was on here talking about he doesn't believe in you know, it's an unfair advantage to the universities and all this type of stuff. And even though Ohio State would be, and he did acknowledge that it would be an advantage to Ohio State. But, you know, at some point, amateur athletics is not amateur athletics anymore. And if you adopt an Olympic model, if you adopt a model where, you know, yes, you're still representing the universities. I disagree with Tim Tebow about the passion for the game would go away or anything like that. I'm an NFL football fan. The passion's still there. And look, college football is always going to have a different energy because of the pageantry, the school, the fans. I would argue the fans are one of the biggest elements of the passion. Players are always going to go out there and play hard for the most part. It's not like guys are, you know, not going to miss a tackle. I just truly don't believe that. So, you know, any other thoughts you want to chime in on?
And I think, well, the thing about that is the players are still going to be there. I mean, they still have to play 3 years outside of high school.
Wouldn't guys theoretically stay longer?
Yeah. I think so. We were talking about that the Malik Jefferson's, like, you know, he was juggling whether he was going to come back or not. If he had that opportunity to cash in on his likeness within the University of Texas, that might have.
And he was a really big deal at the time. Yeah, people were walking around school with Predator T-shirts. Mm-hmm. And he's able to make a piece of change off of that. Just like if any other student got really popular on campus and decided to start, you know, a t-shirt company, or a student got featured in a commercial for whatever reason, and, you know, they're allowed. And we talk all the time about, you know, well, again, they're getting a scholarship, and that's paying them up, and the connections that these football players have, and the network opportunities, and all of that is valid. They do have those opportunities that maybe other students don't get to have, but other students don't have to live a life under intense anxiety and pressure the way that they do. Most college students suffer from anxiety, you know, real anxiety and pressure just being a regular college student. Factor that in with 100,000 people screaming down your neck if you miss a field goal, or 100,000 people, you know, if you throw 3 picks in a game. You talk about Garrett Gilbert all the time.
Yeah.
I
talk about that one game where he actually got benched for David Ash. I remember everyone booing him when he came off the field, and the cameraman zoomed in right on this kid's face. He had to keep his helmet on to hide his tears.
Right.
I mean, he's a hometown boy, and all of us were booing him. I mean, that point he was, I think, 19 years old. I mean, is that the type of pressure a 19-year-old should be having? I mean, that's not right. I mean, everyone makes fun
Is that an amateur sport?
No.
Is that that's not an amateur sport?
Do you guys go to little league games and boot kids?
I'm just saying, like, let's cut the crap, and if we want to keep it a buck again, it's already happening under the table. A lot of the stuff that these people in California are positioning, because it's gonna, now that California's passed it, it's just a matter of time. It's a matter of time.
I'm glad that a big state, especially a big college state like California, passed it, because that will make all the other states kind of look into this. And because, I mean, it's like you said, it's a matter of time, because it isn't right now. It's unfair. It's an unfair advantage that California has over.
And I know it doesn't kick into like 2023 or something like that, but still, like, it's now put pressure on everybody else to figure out a solution to this and get on board, because that's ultimately what it is. We don't have a solution. I know I don't have a solution here today of what this new world, this new system looks like, but we have to head there, right? And we have to, there has to be some sort of progressive mindset. We're progressive in technology and how we make money and how we, monetize everything in this world, especially through social media. We have to be this way with sports as well, in my opinion. And I think it will only help the game and the progression, and may keep kids here in these schools longer. You think of all the random college football players who will never, because football is where it's centered, let's be real. But you think of all the guys who will never be NFL stars. Who, I'm going to throw a real, I told about Todd Reesing from Kansas, or Drew Tate from Iowa. Those guys were never going to be NFL quarterbacks.
You don't think this would benefit basketball more than
the thing is with Bron and what they're doing, man, the basketball game might be shifted more overseas anyway. Now, this may help keep guys here in the States, and I think benefit them immediately in the short term. Like Zion, obviously, right?
Oh yeah, he would have made a killing.
Like, how much money would Zion? How much was Zion worth, right? So things like that, or Kevin Durant when he was here at Texas, like Carmelo Anthony at Syracuse, like those basketball. But the thing is, football, we're talking about 3 years with some of these athletes. We're talking about 4 years of a Sam Ehlinger. What is he worth? But I think it's an interesting discussion. We'll pick it up if you guys want us to. We'll be back. We'll do a live after the West Virginia game. We'll be watching the game together. And guys, make sure, again, follow us on all social media. Make sure you're following my man Matthew. Appreciate you producing, man. Guys, horns always up.